Seeing Netflix's The Witcher show develop has been rather interesting. Man of Steel Henry Cavill never was my first or second or third choice for Geralt of Rivia. Honestly, I never considered him actually as an option. Personally, some of the names that came to my head for the Monster Slayer were Mads Mikkelsen, Anson Mount, Zach McGowan, and Nikolai Coster-Waldau. But beating out apparently over 200 other actors for the role was Henry Cavill, who day one wanted the role because he, like all of us, loved this franchise, from the books to the games. So yeah, days ago we did finally get our first teaser trailer for Netflix's adaptation of the Witcher book series, and the reception has been mostly positive. But not everyone is happy with some of the decisions that Netflix has made. This reaction really is not all that surprising, considering for months there's been a lot of criticism over certain casting decisions and questionable costume design. I will be honest, my personal reaction to the first trailer was just excitement. I think the show thus far looks pretty darn good, and as many have pointed out, Netflix is starting with the short stories. Now with that said, there still is a lot of understandable criticism with the direction that Netflix is going with. Recently, The Witcher showrunner addressed some of that criticism, and today I want to give my opinion on that response and why I do feel a little concerned with the Netflix show ignoring what made the Witcher franchise so popular: CD Projekt Red's games. I also have a theory on why the games are being pretty much ignored, and yes, it has to do with the author of the books' hatred of the video games. But as usual, if you do enjoy this content and want to show your support for more news like this or content like this, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing for more, and turning notifications on so you do not miss out on any new content. Nonetheless, I think one of the biggest issues the Netflix show is already suffering from is CD Projekt Red's phenomenal Witcher games. They have set the bar. From what I've seen, a lot of people, especially Polish, feel like CDPR did this franchise justice with their games, which yes, were an adaptation from Andrzej Sapkowski's books. The comparisons from the games to the Netflix show will never stop happening, and if the show is anything less than great, the loud fanbase will make sure Netflix hears about it. It's obvious why Netflix wanted to adapt this franchise, possibly making it into the next Game of Thrones, and I promise you it wasn't because of the books. It was because of the popularity of the games, and now Netflix deals with the challenge of trying to separate themselves from the games, but there is a good deal of the audience that doesn't even know there are books. These fans have an idea based on CDPR's adaptation of what these characters, Dandelion, or in the case of the show or the books, it's actually just Kier, Triss Merigold, Geralt of Rivia, Yennefer, Ciri, Vesemir, etc., all look, act, and sound like. Netflix has already heard the wrath of some of the fanbase with some of their casting decisions, particularly with the actors they chose for characters like Yennefer, Triss Merigold, Fringilla Vigo, and almost Ciri, which I honestly think would have received enormous backlash had they changed the look of Ciri. Personally, I've never been up in arms about any of these decisions made, especially since we've only seen a short teaser trailer, but some of the criticism is certainly valid. Like, I still don't understand why Yennefer is so young compared to Geralt. And with many of these characters being already established as being white in the books, I do wonder if Netflix is trying to diversify this franchise to a larger and wider audience. Recently, showrunner Lauren S. Hisrich responded to some of the criticism over the casting of Triss Merigold, and many who are upset that the character doesn't look like the one from the games or books with the infamous red hair. She said Triss's hair is described as chestnut in the books, a reddish brown. That's what we went with, and furthermore, when criticized for ignoring how she apparently also has blue eyes in the books, she said, fair enough, what I should have said is that when looking for inspiration we go to the books rather than the games. And lastly, when someone posted an image of Triss in previous material like the games, she responded with, see, the thing is the books aren't illustrated, so any drawings are the artist's own interpretation and creative license, the same as we are doing. Now, the responses shared in these tweets are not new, as all week long Lauren Hisrich has been telling users and outlets that they are ignoring the existence of the games and concentrating solely on the source material. Specifically, she told Entertainment Weekly in an interview, we're not adapting the video games, it's a straight adaptation of the books, which is great as the video games are also an adaptation of the books. They went one direction, we actually get to go another. We're kind of holding close to our chest what we're doing in the first season. There's a lot of obviously epic excitement that starts in the saga of the books, but the short stories provided a lot of world building and lay the foundation of this continent and the politics of it and the understanding of the people of it, and those really came into focus in the first season. Even with that said, it does sound like this Netflix show isn't entirely forgetting the games, as it has been teased by the showrunner. There is a bathtub this season. I won't tell you who is in the bathtub, but there is a bathtub, which likely means we'll probably see Henry Cavill laying in a bathtub, offering just a bit of fan service, which I do have to admit, if that does happen, that will probably be a very cool moment. The Angry Joe Show himself actually chimed in on Twitter about the decision by Netflix to just focus on the books. Angry Joe saying, "The Witcher showrunner says Netflix series will never adapt the video games even if it gets past all book material. Me, weird flex, but okay." It's almost as if he's pretending the video games did not popularize the franchise whatsoever. I don't really get it. And Lauren Hisrich responded correcting Joe that the showrunner herself is a woman, and further added, "Since we've all got each other's attention now, it's funny to me that adapting the books has become code for hating the games. I love the games. I suck at playing them, admittedly, but I enjoy the hell out of drinking beer and watching my friends play. The bottom line, CD Projekt Red recognized amazing source material in Sapkowski's books and chose to adapt it. I'm doing the same exact thing. I've sat with the team in Warsaw, and we have mutual respect. Can everyone arguing on our behalf get along too?" Truthfully, I actually wish people were a little bit more respectful towards Lauren. Some of the things I've seen written towards her are simply outrageous. Now, Angry Joe did respond apologizing for the mistake he made, but he did bring up another part of the show that looks really awkward. Angry Joe said, "Sorry about that, my mistake. I did hear about the bathtub scene, so hopefully we get a small bit of love, but now that I've got your attention, can I politely ask you to change the look of the ballsack armor for season 2? In all seriousness, I cannot wait for your show." And yeah, that is one thing I have to agree with. The Nilfgaardian armor looks like an abomination. And as you might expect, the comparisons are being made to the gorgeous armor featured in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, but I will say it's not that all costume design on the show looks ugly, because some of the other armor shown in the teaser trailer looked pretty good, but I really have trouble understanding how anyone thought the Nilfgaardian armor looked good. Anyway, while everyone for the last year has been critical of the showrunner, thinking she hates the games, I actually think at least some of the blame really needs to be thrown at the author of the books, who is indeed involved in the development of this show. Sapkowski has made his displeasure known with video games, telling Vice in 2017 in an interview he doesn't think a video game can provide good storytelling. A video game serves a different purpose. It works differently. How much substance can there be in the lines of text when the hero walks through the woods and talks to a squirrel? Where's the literature in that? Where's the room for depth or sophisticated language with which games could elevate culture? There's none. More specifically, besides suing CD Projekt Red, Sapkowski has made his displeasure known with the video games, calling them pretty much fan fiction. The game, with all due respect to it, but let's finally say it openly, is not an alternative version nor a sequel. The game is a free adaptation containing elements of my work, an adaptation created by different authors, and he further has said, "I believe it is the success of my books that significantly affects the popularity of the games. That in reality, the games use this fact as my success beats the games to the punch." Back in May 2017, when it was announced Netflix was adapting the books, it was revealed that Sapkowski would be serving as a creative consultant on the series. At the time, he said, "I'm thrilled that Netflix will be doing an adaptation of my stories, staying true to the source material and the themes that I have spent over 30 years writing. I'm excited about our efforts together, as well as the team assembled to shepherd these characters to life." Now, what's strange is that in 2018, just about a year later, Sapkowski claimed to not at all be involved, but the showrunner Lauren Hisrich on multiple occasions has talked about Sapkowski's involvement. She stated that Sapkowski liked her take on his books, as well as claiming that they did have a Polish writer on the team, being Sapkowski, who didn't want to write scripts because he's not a screenwriter, but he was part of the team. Furthermore, with the decision to diversify some of the cast, which has obviously spawned a lot of outrage, she said this was something the author approved of. Mr. Sapkowski has said publicly and to me that the continent is big and diverse in its population in every way. Race, culture, gender, and yes, occasionally skin color, which he said he did not always specify. I'm not sure how people insinuate I'm destroying the books by recognizing that. I'm honoring the author's own intentions. He told me so himself. And actually, just days ago, Hisrich again stated that Sapkowski was part of the team. A Twitter user asked, would the show stick to its Slavic culture roots, and she responded saying, "Great question. The show has Polish producers as well as Andrzej Sapkowski on board. I understand the concern that things might shift from what is beloved, but I encourage fans to remember that we've shown 90 seconds of 8 hours. There is so much more to come, we're excited." Hopefully you understand that I'm bringing up all of this for a reason. My theory is that Sapkowski, when making his deal with Netflix, he likely made clear that he wanted this to be based on his source material. Even though he claims not to be involved unless the showrunner is overstating his involvement, I think the reason why the games are being almost entirely ignored is because of Sapkowski's hatred or jealousy of what CD Projekt Red turned his story, characters, and everything else into. That's just my running theory right now, but while I was never looking for the show to adapt the games, I do think there are small things that the Netflix show could have learned. Like, if you were ever holding out hope of seeing Geralt with a beard like in some of the games, the showrunner has pointed to the books for why that will not happen. It's just kind of strange, because Angry Joe did hit on a good point. The games did a lot right and popularized this series. Why not look to certain aspects for inspiration unless there is a driving force preventing or not wanting that, which in this case certainly could be Sapkowski, who wants this adaptation to be separate and different from the games, with the hope that eventually the series becomes more popular than the games. Sapkowski has emphasized on numerous occasions that he's been writing this book series for over 30 years, and seeing foreign book publishers put the video game character artwork on his books is something he hates, because he doesn't recognize the games as being anything more than just fan fiction. And unfortunately, he does claim that some of the audience apparently thinks that the books are actually based on the games. Back in 2017, Sapkowski told Vice, "CD Projekt Red bravely conceals the game's origins. It's written in fine print, you need a microscope to see it, that the game is based on my books." But yeah, from all of these comments and interviews, I do have to wonder if it's Sapkowski who has used his involvement in the show to make clear he wishes this to be just based on his material, and not borrow anything that CD Projekt Red has already done. Now, getting back to my actual thoughts on the show, even with everything we have discussed today, I still am excited to see what Netflix produces. My concerns are obvious. By ignoring the games and why many fell in love with this franchise, it could result in massive backlash if the show is not good. But I mean, the animations and some of the monsters briefly shown thus far look pretty darn solid. I do think the look of Ciri and Yennefer is great. The show is confirmed to be very adult. Seeing all these characters develop and their backstories is something I'm looking forward to. I'm excited to see the battles teased and the trailer played out, all the politics, and overall I'm optimistic that Netflix will get this right. With all that said, the comparisons to the games will be endless, no matter what, and I really have doubts if it's possible to completely distance the show from the games, but time will certainly tell. Anyway, what do you make of some of the concerns surrounding the Witcher show? Are you excited or not? Let me know your thoughts, opinions down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games, and again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.